Right, let's jump straight into a deep dive today that takes us somewhere pretty unexpected. We're unpacking this online entity called the Big Island Reporter.
Yeah, and the source material we have for this one is, well, frankly, it's quite the collection. Pretty unusual.
It really is. We've got the standard website descriptions, a site guide. But then it gets interesting. There's this YouTube transcript that's pretty wild.
Oh yeah, and even a link straight to a major tech podcast network and Andreessen Horowitz A16Z. So yeah, a very eclectic mix.
So our mission here really is to try and make sense of this whole thing for you. What is the Big Island Reporter actually trying to be? What kind of content are they putting out there?
Exactly. And when you look across all these different pieces, the sort of normal stuff alongside the uh, less conventional, what connections pop out, what are the
Yeah.
surprises, think of this as like your shortcut to understanding something genuinely unique that's happening online.
Unique is definitely the word. The sources themselves kind of hint at this unpredictable journey, don't they? You start reading a description, sounds like a news portal,
Straightforward enough.
and then bam, you hit that YouTube transcript. Spoken word, music, these huge visionary ideas. It's quite a blend.
It really is. So where do we even start pulling this apart?
Okay, let's begin with how the Big Island Reporter presents itself. What's its core identity, according to these sources?
Well, it's definitely not shy. The phrase that keeps coming up again and again is Hawaii's best news web portal.
Okay, high ambitions then. And what about its mission, its purpose?
They state it pretty clearly, founded to root out the truth, aggregating news across the spectrum. But then they define that spectrum in a way that definitely catches your eye.
They do, don't they? It's left, right, center, and
Yeah.
then up and down.
Up and down, yeah.
That's not your typical political axis, is it?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what kind of information, what perspective that covers.
It definitely suggests you're thinking outside the usual news boxes. So, setting that interesting bit aside for just a second, what's the general content offering described?
Broadly, yeah, it's described as eclectic news, podcasts, and videos. Sounds simple, but like you said, the details.
That's where it gets complicated. And the sources are clear about who's behind it all.
Yes, very transparent. A guy named Mark Wood, he's listed as owner and publisher, and he's based right there in Kailua Kona, on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Ah, okay, so a specific person actually in Hawaii.
Exactly. And they give you contact info, email, phone numbers, seems very open. So you've got this named individual in Hawaii aiming to build this big information source covering a really wide, maybe even strange spectrum. That's our starting point.
And speaking of Hawaii, that connection seems absolutely central, doesn't it? Reading through the sources, it feels like showcasing the islands is just as important, maybe even more important, than just reporting the news there.
Oh, completely. It's everywhere in the material, the language they use. It paints such vivid pictures. They talk about stunning landscape photographs, captivating moments.
Yeah, and specific examples too, like gorgeous marine life, those iconic volcanoes, amazing sunsets, the classic stuff, pristine beaches, coastlines, rainforests, waterfalls. It's like they want to beam you directly into the physical beauty of Hawaii.
But it's not just the scenery, is it? The sources really stress a deep connection to the culture, the heritage.
Absolutely. They mention things like hula, traditional music, cultural festivals. The food gets described as this amazing fusion, Polynesian, Asian, Western influences all mixed together.
And local artisans get highlighted too.
Yeah, like lei making, wood carving, historical landmarks.
Yeah.
And importantly, the sources mention a goal to give insights into the lives, traditions, and even the struggles of indigenous people. So it feels like they're aiming for depth, not just, pretty pictures.
And there's a practical side too, isn't there, for people who actually live there or might be visiting.
Definitely. Highlighting local businesses seems key, and also real estate listings. You see specific names pop up in the sources, like Dixon 76 in Kona, or a realtor named Lance Owens is mentioned.
That really grounds it, doesn't it? Connects it to everyday life there.
It makes it feel very rooted in the place. And they even say explicitly they want to embody and share the aloha spirit. So you get this really rich, detailed focus on local life, culture, history, business, mainly on the Big Island for now.
Although you're right, the sources do mention plans to maybe expand coverage to other islands eventually so that Hawaii focus could grow.
Seems like it's a living project, their connection to the islands.
Okay, right. Now, here's where things take a turn that feels almost, well, jarring, given that really deep, tangible focus on Hawaii.
You have to mean the tech stuff, the AI stuff. It's just everywhere in these sources.
Exactly. It's like this totally parallel pillar running alongside the Hawaii content. You just can't miss it.
No, it feels less like, oh, here's our tech section, and
Yeah.
more like it's woven into the fabric of the whole thing.
So what specific AI features or tools do the sources actually point out?
Well, there's mention of AI-generated images, AI news feeds on different topics, and they seem really keen on interactive AI chat features. You see these prompts right on the site like, uh, try our AI prompt here and try our other AI chat here.
And there's even a specific branded one, the Big Island Reporter AI assistant powered by eCado.
Right, so this isn't just, reporting about AI trends. They're actively building and integrating AI tools right into the platform for users. That's a pretty big step.
It is. And the sources talk about this concept called any model. They position it as being, quote, early in the future of AI.
Any model. What's the thinking behind that?
The sources explain it as one subscription giving you access to multiple different AI models. They list names you'd recognize: ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Llama, others.
Huh. So like a gateway, a
Yeah.
single place to tap into different major AIs.
Exactly. The implication seems to be that the future isn't about picking just one AI to rule them all, but maybe having access to several depending on what you need. That's actually a pretty nuanced take on where AI might be heading.
And how about using AI for the news aggregation part, tying it back to their mission statement?
Yeah, they mentioned a specific tool called NewsCord, pitched as an AI tool for, quote, giving you the full story by pulling info from multiple sources.
And the example topics News Corps tackles.
Mm.
They're pretty heavy current issues, right?
They really are. The sources list things like the war on Gaza, U.S. crime trends, the war in Ukraine, talk about Trump-Putin peace discussions, a gender-affirming care bill, even referencing a de facto Muslim travel ban. So yeah, applying AI to some really complex, politically charged global and domestic situations.
Which definitely fits with aggregating across the spectrum, but using AI for that kind of sensitive stuff.
I think I saw a really important warning about NewsCord in the sources. You did, and it's vital they included it. There's a very clear caution stating that NewsCord's AI can make mistakes. Always check the original sources.
That's super important context. It shows they're aware of the pitfalls of potential inaccuracies, even while they're pushing forward with these tools.
Adds a necessary dose of realism to the tech enthusiasm. And this tech focus goes beyond just the AI tools on their own site, doesn't it?
It does. The sources point to a Flipboard section they run, focused entirely on technology. Lists things like, programming languages, AI, deep learning, NLP, natural language processing.
So understanding how computers process language.
Right, and other sort of core computer science topics, they're curating broader tech knowledge.
Okay.
And underlining all this is that link we mentioned earlier, the one in the sources pointing to the A16Z podcast network.
Andreessen Horowitz. Yeah, they're huge in tech venture capital.
Absolutely massive. And the sources even call out specific A16Z episode titles. They link to stuff about AI, advanced tech, Web3, like Evolving Embodied Intelligence with Fei-Fei Li, or The Quest for AGI, Artificial General Intelligence.
Wow. So you've got this incredibly detailed, almost touchable focus on Hawaii, the place, the culture, local businesses,
Very grounded.
sitting right next to this deep dive into like bleeding edge technology, AI's future, discussions from global tech leaders. It's just such an unexpected pairing.
It is. And just when you think you've kind of got your head around that mix, local Hawaii, global tech, the sources will have to take another turn into areas that are even more, let's say, unconventional. This is where that YouTube transcript really comes into play.
Okay, let's brace ourselves. What other dimensions are we talking about here based on those sources?
Well, you definitely move beyond anything resembling standard news or tech coverage. You get into these really unique, almost visionary, or maybe abstract elements.
It's like that whole United States of Africa idea that leaps out of the transcript.
Right. It's presented with surprising specificity, like this grand, ambitious future vision.
How specific do they get?
Well, they talk about it becoming a single entity by, get this, Christmas Day 2026. And geographically, it stretches from Ohio to Cape Town.
Ohio to
But that's
Cape
hard,
Town.
yeah.
That's an extraordinary scope on a specific date, too.
Yeah, absolutely specific.
Yeah.
And it's imagined with massive infrastructure, like an electric, solar-powered trans highway running through it for global energy transfer.
And the claims attached to this vision in the transcript, they're huge, aren't they? Ending starvation, ending wars.
Exactly. And it's called the world's first Queen Super. Now, the sources don't really define what Queen Super means, so that's open to interpretation, but it definitely sounds significant, powerful.
And this whole vision is attributed to a secret society.
Explicitly. The sources say these messages were developed by secret society. which, adds another layer of intrigue and definitely pushes it far outside the bounds of what you'd expect from something also calling itself a news portal. It's worlds away from, say, a listing for a local Kona business.
World away, yeah. And then there are other odd threads, like details about some kind of musical
Oh,
alliance.
yeah. That's described as an alliance between a Hawaii recording artist, Blue Turban Stone, and something called Buzui guitar.
The 21st century guitar line?
Mhm.
That's the one described as a double-sided guitar, right? Invented by a Dr. Isola, registered in Georgia.
That's the one. So you have a local Hawaiian musician connected with this unique, innovative instrument developed completely elsewhere. Again, it's this pattern of weaving together seemingly unrelated threads on the same platform. It's fascinating just seeing them side by side.
And there's a collection of other bits and pieces mentioned too, right? Just sort of scattered elements.
Yeah, odds and ends, like references to streaming services, Pluto TV, recommendations for music producers, specifically mentioning the Megatrax production music library.
There's also that focus on airsoft and self-defense content.
Right. And the cool stuff section, which the sources say covers everything from life hacks and concept cars to scientific breakthroughs, kind of a catch-all for interesting finds.
And we can't ignore those more abstract, almost lyrical fragments that pop up in that YouTube transcript. They add a whole different feel.
They really do. Lines like, Monday world is for the losers, or that introspective bit, answer is not in me, it's deep within yourself.
Or the more, maybe, philosophical ones. Misery of being free to a toy of the powers that be. And that rhythmic chanting thing, just heat, 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 heat.
These fragments feel really personal, maybe a bit cryptic. They definitely contribute to this platform's very unique and, yeah, unpredictable personality. It just shifts so quickly. Hyperlocal Hawaii, global tech trends, abstract ideas, these wild future visions.
It creates a very dynamic, maybe even deliberately disorienting kind of online experience.
So, okay, given this incredibly diverse, sometimes really out there mix of content, how does a platform like this actually work? What do the sources tell us about the business side? How does it keep the lights on?
Well, the main thing highlighted is advertising. The sources describe it as cost-effective and focus on them offering year-long website ad pages.
Okay, advertising, fairly standard, but they seem to have a particular trick up their sleeve for making sure those ads actually get seen. Something about bypassing ad blockers.
They do, yeah. They market this capability explicitly.
How do they do that, according to the sources?
They use a Google Docs presentation format for the ads themselves. The sources basically state this is a deliberate move to make sure the message bypasses ad blockers and reaches a wider audience, when normal banner ads might just get zapped.
Huh. That's actually pretty clever.
Yeah.
A workaround for a really common issue online these days.
Hmm.
Do the sources give any specifics on pricing for these ads?
Yes, they give some examples. Like, an old rate was $250 for a year, and that included a second year free. The current rate they highlight is $500 a year, but still with that second year free offer.
Interesting deal.
And there's even a little detail about getting a $100 cash discount if you pay using PayPal. And for realtors, they have specific tiers for adding listings into what they call a features cube, $500 or $1,000 a year, depending on the features.
So the pricing, the ad delivery method, it's all laid out quite clearly in the source material.
Seems to be.
Well-
And beyond just ads, they also mentioned features aimed at building some kind of community around the site.
Like interactive forums, allowing reader contributions, running polls and surveys, ways to get people involved, not just reading passively.
And presumably they're on social media too, trying to connect with people there.
Yep, Facebook and Twitter get mentioned. And the sources also repeat those future plans we talked about, expanding coverage to other islands, improving the user experience overall.
Okay, so let's try and pull all these different strands together. You've got this online platform deeply invested in showing the tangible reality of Hawaii, the place, the culture, the community.
Right, pillar one, very strong.
Then you have this huge forward-looking focus on cutting-edge tech and AI, not just reporting on it, but building tools, highlighting big conversations about the future, a totally different anchor point.
Definitely pillar two.
And then layered on top, or maybe woven through it all, you have these truly unexpected pieces. Grand, almost mythical future visions, specific artistic collaborations with unique inventions, even those abstract lyrical bits.
Plus, yeah, a business model built on advertising with that clever trick to beat ad blockers.
So what does this whole picture tell us? When you look across these incredibly different areas, what does the Big Island reporter ultimately seem to be doing? What's the goal?
Well, looking at the sources, it's clear you can't easily stick a label on it. It just
Wow.
doesn't fit neatly into local news site or a tech blog or visionary forum.
It feels like its main function, maybe hinted at by that mission to aggregate across the whole spectrum, is to actively pull together information and ideas from these wildly different zones and just present them together.
It's almost like it operates on the idea that, local life in Hawaii, global AI developments, philosophical musings, and even really out there future stuff are all part of the same information landscape we're all swimming in online.
That's a fascinating way to put it. Like, they see connections where most platforms would build walls. It's this multifaceted space reflecting just how diverse, maybe how chaotic online interests really are. It's a news
Definitely.
source, yeah, and a local
Yeah.
guide, a tech showcase, and maybe, just maybe, a launchpad for stranger ideas, all mixed together.
This deep dive really does highlight how unique the Big Island Reporter is. Just by laying out all these different parts side by side, it saves you the effort of trying to piece it all together yourself
Mm,
from these varied sources.
absolutely. You see that very real, tangible anchor in Hawaii.
Mm.
And then this incredible reach towards the abstract, the global, the futuristic, the super technological. It's quite the combination.
And that combination really makes you stop and think about what an online platform or even what information itself can mean today.
Which maybe leads us to a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on. When an online space like this deliberately mixes a strong, grounded local identity rooted in a real place like Hawaii with huge global trends like advanced tech, and even throws in these abstract, visionary future concepts,
Yeah.
how does that mix start to change our usual ideas about community, or even what counts as news or valuable information in this digital age? What does it mean to be well informed when the spectrum includes not just left, right, and center, but also that mysterious up and down?
Definitely gives you something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.